Let's talk PARSIQ.
So hello everyone and welcome to today's Let's Talk PARSIQ Tsunami API Birthday Edition. As you may or may not know, Tsunami API was released just over a year ago in what was a major transition in the direction of our company. This week, we've got all kinds of things planned for the community, including this AMA, our Unicornization campaign voting, a poker game, and perhaps a few other surprises along the way. Today, I'm happy to be joined by our CEO, Rong Kai, our CTO, Daniil, Community Manager, Dave, our Chinese Community Manager, Hao Dong, and last but not least, Emilijus, who joins us from our business development team. Unfortunately, our head of marketing, Anastasia, had some connection issues and she will be unable to attend. I'm your host, Casey, head of community with PARSIQ, and we thank everyone for joining us. Just a little bit about what to expect on today's spaces. We're going to be doing a bit of a check-in with each department and see what all the people there are working on at the moment and what we can expect right around the corner. We'll then go to the community questions at the end, and we do thank everyone for providing them. We're running a bit of a promotion where we're giving out 5 Tsunami API birthday mouse pads to the top 5 questions during the AMA. So I guess, I just want to say a quick hello to everyone, and if you want to say hi, that'd be awesome.
Hey everyone, and thanks Casey for the introduction. Nice to be here, excited about Tsunami hitting 1 year mark. I think it's going to be a great AMA today.
Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. This is going to be exciting, and I think we received quite a number of community questions. Happy to go through as many of them as possible.
Hey guys, looking forward to it. Thanks for the intro, Casey, and thanks for all the questions you guys have submitted. We'll get through as many as we can, so looking forward to it.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in to go to the space.
Hey all, I'm happy to be part of this. Nice to be, among our community and a bunch of our team. Hopefully we can cover as much as we can today. And by the way, Hao Dong, I think you sound a bit choppy, at least in my earphones. So
yeah, we could not really hear you. It sounds like there's a lot of feedback. You sound like there's 3 or 4 different voices at once.
Yeah, Hao Dong's sounding a little bit like a robot at the minute, so we'll see if we can get his mic sorted out, hopefully.
Yeah, cheers, Dave. Thanks for that. Okay, so let's get on to some questions. Rong Kai, as we know, you've just pretty much completed your first month as the CEO of PARSIQ. So how's it been?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I guess we don't have a new COO yet. There's still a lot of operational things that I'm doing anyway. But I think as for the first month, we generally set the new course. It's not exactly fully new, but it's sort of a clearer commercial directions. Business-wise, I think things are booming, going in the right direction, inbound, outbound. Things that are more traditional for our company, we have that. As a tech company, there's a lot of things that's happening behind the scenes together with the new as well. I think in the previous call, I mentioned 3 key focus. One is really the commercial directions, the B2B, getting a good, correct strategy for growth, because at the end of the day, most of our clients are businesses. So really getting that part settled. The second part is tokenomics. Things are working in the background. And third part is really technology, which, let's face it, that's what everyone is here for. That's what we've been doing as well. And all of it, I think in terms of directions, are all generally set. Now it's really getting it across the line. And that's what my first month have been busy with.
Yeah, thanks for that, Rong Kai. I guess concerning the commercial aspect of the 3 things you mentioned, last week you were at the Ethereum Community Conference 6 in Paris, and just wondering if you could tell the community a bit about why you thought it was important to attend, who you're able to meet up with, and sort of what you're seeing in the Web3 space at this time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Casey. I think for this part, so when we are in the Web3 space, we build for at least our product is a lot more applicable for developers and businesses. The man on the street, at least right now, they're unlikely to use it yet because we built something really, really powerful. The B2C aspect will come down the road, not now, but effectively we want to be as close as possible to our potential clients, and they are developers first and foremost. They will be the ones using our product when you go into our interface and you need something that's powerful enough to bring that kind of data to you. A layman wouldn't be using that data because it depends. Like, unless you're doing a project on your own, then you are technically like an amateur developer. You're trying to build something. But if you're just looking for transactions, Block Explorer, something simple will be able to do it for you. What we're doing is way, way more powerful than that. And being at such a conference and be seen and see others, see and be seen, so to speak, is extremely important because they are our exact target audience. And it's not just about clients, it's a lot about partnerships, building relationships with everyone in this space. Metis, for example, we have always been very strong supporters of them. I had a good time at the Metis Festival. Where they had a side event, and I had a very long chat with the CEO of the ZK or ZK Metis. That's the new chain that they're pushing out. Know more about the technologies, know more about their needs and what the ecosystem needs, and obviously to move forward in a win-win partnership. So there are a lot of talks on those fronts, not just with other layer ones, but also with market makers, investors, different projects. I was at InfraCon talking to different people. Some might call them competitors of ours, but ultimately no one is really 100% in the exact same space. Everyone is trying to close. This is what I personally call the data processing gap. We are in the business of converting raw data into usable information, and no one has really closed it completely until now, until Paris, us going to Paris and telling people that, hey, PARSIQ, we have these data lakes. And even before that, if you've heard of us, that's great. If you have not heard about us, actually, we can close this completely. And that changes the paradigm for a lot of people, and is actually important, extremely important for me to be there personally, and actually bringing this across to a lot of people. As far as for what I'm seeing in Web3 space at the moment, there's a lot of attention to ZK or optimistic rolled up form of technologies, at least in the space right now. Very interesting in terms of investment space, because at the end of the day, my background when I was in Binance, I was also in the investment team. That's where I was in the team that invested in PARSIQ. And this is a very different game compared to 2 years ago in 2021, 2020. The space right now is extremely tight. Everyone is basically trying to survive. So this is what I'm seeing. The money in this space is extremely tight. Investors are holding on to their money. So only the best projects will survive. And sometimes when I say the best projects, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best tech. It is really combinations of factors. You have good tech, you have good traction, you have liquidity, you have funds to survive until the next bull market. And this is what I'm seeing in this space right now. There's a lot of great products, great projects that I spoke to. They basically folded or they froze them until the next bull market, which was a pity, but that's just the reality of things. And this is what's happening in the Web3 space right now.
Okay, yeah, thanks for your insights there. I think, everyone loves to hear what happens at these conferences, and you get to talk with other leaders in this space. So Really great to hear what you had to say there. I guess, like, yeah, we talked about the three things you're chatting about: commercial, tokenomics, and our technology, which is the focus for PARSIQ. There's a lot of community questions, of course, surrounding tokenomics, and we'd like to get an update there from you. And then, of course, our Chief of Technology, Danny, is here, who we'll be speaking to very shortly. So a lot of people have been asking about the tokenomics, so maybe we'll cover this first. Can you maybe just again reiterate and give us a sneak peek into the tokenomics update that PARSIQ's been working on? And of course, after you're able to tell us some stuff, Rong Kai, Danny, we'd love to hear from you as well.
Yeah, sure. So I probably can start off, and Danny can add on to it. So Danny and I, we are working on a piece personally. We're doing it personally because we want to make sure that the message is right. But basically, we're gonna to give a high level update on the utility for the token, because this is something we've been working on for a long time. Previously, I mentioned there's gonna be 3 phases. There's gonna be a little bit more meat to what I meant when there's 3 phases. Phase 1 is coming very soon, actually, but phase 1 is going to be what I would say lowering of entry barrier. Phase 2 is going to be at the core of the ecosystem, and phase 3 is that and beyond. This is really a high level kind of angle, but why do I put it that way? Because PRQ from the very beginning and until now, it has been, and will always be at the core of our ecosystem. This is the use of the token. The ecosystem, because at the end of the day, we are also very clear this is not a security token. Once you do that, you get into trouble with SEC and all that. And we're very clear that we are not going to get in trouble with all that. So PRQ is utility, and obviously, where does the utility come in then? At phase 1, it is a lot about lowering entry barriers, about enabling and making it easier for people to use the system, because that's what it's all about. But phase 2, what we are angling for is within our overall ecosystem, how do we match demand and supply? How do we combine the interests of token holders, which a lot of them, they don't actually use the product itself, they hold access of it. How do we match it together with those that wants to use the setup, but they might or might not hold the tokens? And there'll be angles from there. And obviously, phase 2 and phase 3 sort of merge together a little bit, because timeline-wise, we are not very clear. Some of it, especially at phase 3, is more external. It depends a lot more on external ecosystems. How do we then bring that value from our own ecosystem to combine it with value on other ecosystems? And obviously, with one single token, you gain a lot more utility from there. And that's really a high-level kind of insights into this. This is the angle that we're going for. And Danny perhaps might have more things to say about this.
Yeah, thanks for laying it down. There is, I don't think there is much to add, because we're still talking about like very, high level, and we're still working on the details, because tokenomics is actually pretty complex subject, both from technological standpoint and economical standpoint, and we don't want to promise the things that A, will not be possible, or B, they will not be they will be bad either for the holders or the company, because it's any tokenomics, any real tokenomics is a pretty complex economical model. So there is still a lot of things to consider, and there is, I believe, we want to have some people working on that with us, with more mathematical and economical background, just to make sure that they, with given inputs, with the supply that we have, with the concept that we put, that we actually create a viable economic model. I'm afraid, I'm sorry that we cannot give like something like the tokenomics will be ABC, and it will be available that quarter of that year, kind of stuff. But there's so many things to consider and to think about and to calculate and measure. So I just hope that soon we will have more details. And yeah, as Rong Kai mentioned, we're working on a piece where we lay down our thoughts and talk about some of our commitments to the community, and what is our goal with PRQ.
Yeah, I think I remember, we had the team meet up in Tallinn back in early February, and we sort of sketched out what the new tokenomics was going to look like. But then when you get into the nitty gritty, like, as everyone knows, the devil's in the details. So it's great to hear from you guys, and I'm sure it's reassuring for the community that both the CEO and CTO are hard at work and really want to get it right. And of course, they have the community in mind. As we know, like as someone that works in the community, we're always looking to take care of our token holders, and it's good to hear that we're doing it in a sustainable way. So I guess Danny, we'll move on and ask some questions to you directly. Earlier this week, you had released part 1 of a 3-part series called PARSIQ Exposed. And in the first part, it was more of a retrospective piece chronicling the genesis of Tsunami API as we moved away from our old platform, or what we call PARSIQ Core. And I was just wondering, can you maybe speak to the motivation for you in writing this article, and what can our community expect from parts 2 and 3?
Sure, it's a great question, actually. There are probably a couple goals that I have here. First of all, I mean, we've been talking a lot about, whys of this kind of pivot into this new product suite. But I just wanted, like, with the introduction, I just wanted to share how it was, going behind the scenes, just create this transparent picture of the processes in the company, and how that actually came into existence. I will not, of course, recite what I've wrote now. Yeah, if you're interested, just give it a look. But the next 2 parts, I think the second part should come soon, very soon, and the next part probably next week, because there's a lot of fine tuning going into this, and trying to be not too how do I put it? I want to cover real problems, and what we try to solve with the products that we have, and the PARSIQ as the as a not open source company, and Tsunami being like closed sourced project. We do have a lot of questions about that, even though, like, if we look at most of the data providers, they all kind of API kind of stuff that don't have like open source part. I just want to cover and highlight the work that was put into making Tsunami and data lakes, and why they're important, and what kind of effort actually goes into making such solutions. And this is a sort of not a guideline, but to some extent for other projects to see what really goes into making your own in-house solution, and what kind of problems you have to solve, and what kind of resource you have to put into that. And want people to really think about, like, what is the benefit of doing it in-house, and whether maybe it makes more sense to kind of delegate it to the people who actually specialize on solving these problems, because you have to put a lot of effort to make a reliable solution. Yeah, so I'm talking about more about the tech that we use, what kind of what kind of databases, what kind of services we have, what kind of responsibilities they have, just to give community, dev community, and other communities, and not insight, but just general picture about what goes into creation of the tech.
It's all about the tech. Famous crypto line. Let's look forward to reading parts 2 and 3. And for anyone that would like to read part 1, it's currently pinned at the top spot on our Twitter, so you can take a look there. And for what you're saying about people learning about the tech and then our use cases and how it can save them time and money with development and stuff, we're going to be hearing from Emilijus on our business development team, who talks to all kinds of projects all the time, and we'll get some insights from him. But before that, I guess, to sort of chat a bit more about one of the things that we've told the community about the tokenomics is that in the past AMAs, we're going to sort of introduce the PARSIQ SDK at some point. I guess for starters, for people that might not know, can you first explain what an SDK is and maybe define its purpose?
Sure. So just as from textbook definition, kind of, so like SDK stands for Software Development Kit. And what it actually means is just a set of libraries that was written by, well, whoever. In this case, if we talk about PARSIQ SDK, this is a set of libraries that had been written by us. And the idea here is to provide others with the framework to solve some kind of problems. In our case, when we talk about SDK, we're talking about solving blockchain data issues, and there is a lot to talk about. Talking about PARSIQ SDK, generally just a set of pre-made, pre-written kind of code that will boost your development, so you don't have to think about some things without thinking about starting everything from the ground zero, but rather having this kit that provides you with functionality out of the box.
Okay, great. So yeah, I guess we'll be looking forward to hearing more about the PARSIQ SDK. And if you can maybe just to finish up your section here, if you could provide any more insights into how devs might use the PARSIQ SDK, and then maybe just a general overview of what other exciting developments the PARSIQ product team is working on.
Sure. So just to finish the SDK part, so the idea of PARSIQ SDK or Data Lake SDK is to allow developers to create their own Web3 APIs. And if we take our existing product suite, we have this. We have the NFT API or NFT Data Lake, Balances API. We have Uniswap API almost ready, and some other stuff. And this all is done using our own SDK. And the idea is that by defining conditions, and then by conditions I mean like this kind of contracts and this kind of events that happening on the chain with this kind of addresses. So by defining this rule, you can actually create your own Web3 API, because what PARSIQ SDK allows is just to define for user, like for the developer, just to define conditions and get your own miniature kind of Tsunami database with all the relevant information. And on top of this information, you basically can create your front ends and back ends and calculate your turnovers. You can monitor your contracts and have the whole history of what is happening with your smart contracts, your projects, or your protocols, smart contracts, and have access to this data in an easy way. And also, like, SDK is very deterministic, and the idea there is that you can do anything on top of the fundamental blockchain, EVM kind of data, because conceptually it's pretty much limited on what kind of information you can store on chain. And so SDK provides an easy way to work with this data, to aggregate this data, and to actually monitor your contracts. And you will not have to think about, you will have a bunch of problems solved by SDK already, including your data consistency and reworks and state calculation and everything. Because for some protocols, we actually separate SDK for stateless and stateful protocols. And some protocols, for some protocols, for instance, it's very important to process events or data or function calls in the order it happened. So in the end, you can have the most precise picture of what is state of your smart contracts, right now, of your NFTs or your tokens. And SDK actually allows you not to think about it, not to think about data consistency and ordering, and have everything, everything basically out of the box. And then there is, stateless kind of protocols like Uniswap pools, for instance, where you need just to kind of ingest enormous amount of data, but very fast, well, preferably fast. And SDK allows you to do that, to do calculations on the very big chunks of blockchain data. I think we will have more information on that soon, and I'm pretty excited for SDK to be released and to be out there in the public and see what the community can do with that. This is for the SDK part. For the future development, there are different things, there are different streams or are ongoing at the same time. Of course, there will be new chain integrations. We constantly expanding. We carefully evaluate what kind of change we are on, because for us, bringing new chains to ecosystem is a big commitment, because we but we need to provide the best experience and set of services on all the chains we support. And then we are working on one important thing that has been kind of requested by many kind of AI projects / data aggregators, and it is ability to actually mass export blockchain data, because to train your data sets, you need access to very big chunks of information, so you can train the models and make your algorithms and predictions and everything. So this is one of the features, more kind of enterprisey or data science features that come in relatively soon. There are a bunch of things that we're working on regarding infrastructure and making Tsunami even faster, even more reliable, generating more capacity for clients that onboarding on our systems. We're working on our hardware portal to create more meaningful interface for developers, and to give the ability to play around with the data straight out of the interface, and to have a good overview of what is going with your system that communicates with PARSIQ. And we actually adding some additional data retention tools. So sometimes things go south and some data cannot be delivered by whatever the reason is. It can be external, it can be internal reason. So we'll give the ability to see what kind of data you did not receive, and you will be able to resend this data and make your calculations and make your own data consistent and make sure that everything reached your system. So there's a lot of work, a lot of different streams in works, and there are some new data lakes that we are doing right now that I think will be announced when they are closer to their release state, in a sense. I guess this is all from my side for now.
Thanks very much, Daniil. Yeah, that's great to hear about all the exciting developments, and thanks for the in-depth explanation about the SDK. We'll look forward to putting something more out for our community when we have it ready. I'm just going to do a quick mic check because I'm apparently the last to know that my mic has been quiet this whole time. Does it sound better now?
No, you're still pretty quiet, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
I'll do my mic checks later.
Okay, I ditched my mic off my headset, and I'm just going straight into the phone now. So I can't improve it anymore. So we'll just carry on. Hopefully I'm loud enough, and we'll have the PARSIQ audio engineers fix it in post-production. Next, we're going to turn our attention to the BD department. Welcome, Emilijus. How are you doing, man?
Hey, Casey. Good. Firing on all cylinders, actually. By the way, how's my sound? Is it okay?
Yeah, everything has sounded great to me. That you sound great. Yeah. So, one question for you is that, people have heard you on Twitter Spaces before, but just taking a step back, can you let us know what the role of a business development team member is at PARSIQ, and maybe like expand on what Danny was saying, like how do you go about meeting clients and telling them about our tech and finding possible solutions for their pain points?
Yeah, that's a broad question. So, and the role itself is pretty broad, to be honest with you. Business development can mean a lot of things. For me personally, at PARSIQ, first and foremost, I'm focusing on looking for new partners, nurturing existing relationships, sort of being a trusted agent for our existing partners, for them to have the best experience possible, not only when starting off with us, but also continuing the journey, because it's not always about just getting people signed up. It's also about letting them enjoy the experience with PARSIQ, and being careful with what they need, being responsive to their requests. Obviously, bringing in revenue for the company is very important. At the end of the day, we are a B2B company, so for us, revenues is always at the top of the priority list. And just in general, opening as many doors and opportunities for the company as possible, and that comes in many ways, different ways, shapes, or forms. We just have to adjust at the right time to what the company needs the most. For example, when we were just alpha testing Tsunami, what was very important for me was to get the pipeline of alpha testers to get us feedback, so that I can pass forward this to our CTO. And just in general, being a business development rep at PARSIQ means that we're constantly bothering our CTO with various requests coming from clients. So that would be my typical day, I would say. And then when it comes to meeting people, we have different channels for that. Obviously, it's a network that we build up as we work in Web3, going to various conferences. We tap into the networks of our investors, of our peers, just friendly projects. Because at the end of the day, Web3 as an industry is very easygoing, very friendly, and once you get a good relationship started, then it becomes pretty easy to find the right people that you want to talk to. So yeah, I hope that gives a good glimpse of what it's all about. but it's a really enjoyable experience. And coming from the community myself, I'm very happy to have the chance to really have the positive impact on the company that I care a lot for. And it's sort of, I don't have to look for external sources of motivations coming from the inside. So yeah, that would be. I hope that gives a good overview of what we do as part of the BD team.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, it's great to hear what you had to say there. I think like community has a good idea. It's about trying to get new clients for PARSIQ, but also another part is really about maintaining those relationships and growing them, and also being part of that really important feedback loop with product team to see what people actually need and what's resonating with different projects out there at the moment. So one of the things we've done recently that you've been instrumental in is our Unicornization campaign. We do have currently a community vote going on inside of our Discord, but let's maybe just take a step back and talk about sort of the idea behind the campaign, what the response was like, and how many teams you've met and talked to as part of the process.
Yeah, this whole campaign has been a success so far for sure. We I think we got over 70 applications in total, and then I think we shortlisted and talked to probably 15. And we try to be very, very strategic and careful with which teams we want to talk to. First of all, obviously, we wanted to make sure that the data lake could actually benefit them, and the response has been great. We had a chance to have a lot of conversations, and people were very open with us. That's not always the case when you do the usual first call with people, but in this case, as they were naturally interested in what we offer in a data lake, they were very open and shed a lot of light on what's missing in the data space, what other data providers and where they are lacking, what's not out there, which is very important for us to be progressive and always one step ahead. So we got tons of good alpha, in terms of where to develop next, what people need. And then when it came actually to shortlisting the final applicants, we really wanted to have very different protocols competing against each other. Pretty much they have nothing in common, all the three finalists. And for us, and I guess for the whole community, it shows how universal the concept of a data lake can be. And that's exactly why it's pretty difficult to answer a question of, which industry PARSIQ can help the most. There's no, the right answer here. There are so many different projects and protocols in Web3 that need data, and it's, it can be extremely broad. So, Web3 accounting, a DEX for options, and also a Web3 marketplace survey, they have nothing in common. But at the same time, PARSIQ can help each and every one of them with a robust and flagship data solution. So I'm pretty sure we'll do another campaign like this because it turned out to be a success, and I hope we'll get even more engagement down the line. But this definitely exceeded our expectations in terms of how many responses we expect to get, and actually how developed already the applications were. So yeah, kudos to our whole team who actually came up with the idea.
Thanks, Emilijus. Yeah, and just to remind everyone, we have the opportunity to continue voting until July 31st at 2 p.m. UTC inside of our Discord, so definitely go check that out, and there's links to the campaign page and everything where you can get a description of the three finalists. One other thing that I wanted to chat with you about, Emilijus, is we've sort of had another strategy where we've been going after some accelerators in the space and helping new Web3 startups and offering them our services. Can you chat a bit about that and what that process has been like?
Sure. So early startups usually go with an accelerator or an incubator in Web3 to sort of kick off their journey in Web3. They are getting funding, they're getting advised by the accelerator, and naturally they have portfolios of lots of early stage startups. So for us, it's a good network to tap in to look for early opportunities, because in Web3, once you start building on something when it comes to data infrastructure, with time it becomes a bit more difficult to change. So our idea was to get connected to as many early projects as we can and be the building block for them. So that's why incubators and accelerators are a great place. And not only that, but we get to learn from them a lot. I know that community is always seeking PARSIQ to partner with only the biggest protocols, but when it comes to insight on the data industry and the alpha we can get, early stage projects can share a lot of good information with us, and also they are really great for us to understand what's missing. So we have announced that partnership quite a while ago with the Blockchain Founders Group. I'm also working with Brink and having a few more chats with other entities like that. And it's first of all great for networking reasons and all those aforementioned ones. So it's for us as BD department, we have to make sure our pipeline is always being refreshed and replenished. And partnerships like this is a great way to get parts of that done.
Yeah, it sounds like a great strategy. We're as we all know, we're a young space, so developing the relationships with the people that are going to be growing the space together certainly seems like a good strategy to me. And yeah, I'm glad you're taking the lead on that, Emilijus. And at the end of the day, it's helping us with our product and what to develop next. So all good news there. We're really running out of time here to get to community questions. So quickly, we'll just go through the community team, what everyone's working on. Basically, as mentioned, we have the Tsunami API birthday party going this week. So we have our poker game coming up tomorrow, where everyone will have the chance to win 5,000 PRQ, which is pretty cool. And then on our side, we're also sort of working on revamping the Medium page and the YouTube channels. We're going to put all the Let's Talk PARSIQ episodes there, so you'll never have to miss anything. So that's going to be something coming out soon as well. And then one of the things I wanted to get to for Haodong is Haodong, you've recently decided to move to Hong Kong, and wondering if you could shed some light, and maybe Rong Kai, you could jump in here as well, about the fact that there's going to be a PARSIQ office in Hong Kong very soon. Haodong, do you want to chat a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Casey. Yeah, expanding to Hong Kong will be a really exciting milestone for PARSIQ. So other than actually accessing to huge markets in Asia, there are a lot more opportunities for PARSIQ to explore on. So at the moment, we have already applied for grants that actually provide funding to marketing and community team, with product-related grants coming next. Other than grants, there are a lot of amazing developer communities in Hong Kong, so some of them actually make their living through building SDKs. So I would expect that there will be more community members joining after the SDK release. So, and last but not least, university-related partnerships. So Hong Kong is well known for its famous universities, such as the University of Hong Kong and Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. And so I expect there'll be more real-life events with these sort of university societies, and where we'll be providing real-life workshop opportunities on building with PARSIQ. I'll pass this on to Rong Kai for more strategic info about PARSIQ Hong Kong.
Yeah, thank you so much, Haodong. So we set our office there mainly on the tech side, for R&D, and even the grants that we're looking at are really highly focused on that. The Hong Kong government doesn't give away money for free. It's a sign of how dedicated we are and how dedicated they are in making sure this work. I think one good news is I think it's being set up, but we are probably going to sit next to Animoca.
Sorry, Rong Kai, are you still speaking?
No, that's it.
Okay, sorry about that. I wasn't sure if something had cut off there. Okay, thank you. And Rong Kai, can you stay a little past the top of the hour for community questions? I know like other Parsec team members might have to go, but we really wanted to get to the community questions. So just can you let us know your availability there?
I do have a hard cut off on the hour, unfortunately. With I have another call going into that, but I think we sort of covered a lot of community questions, but we should go in through as many of them as possible.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Dave, maybe you can start asking some of the more important community questions that you've compiled.
Hey guys. Yeah, let's take a look, see which ones are specifically for Rong Kai. Maybe we can just ask those first. We've got one which it says congratulations on the leadership transition for PARSIQ'S new CEO, Rong Kai. So congrats to you. They ask, what goals do you have for the project as CEO? So what are your sort of aims for the next year or so for PARSIQ?
I think my aims are pretty strategic, which means I'm going beyond just 1 year, but I'm looking at the next 3 to 5 years. Basically, I want to make the way we set up data lakes, the way data is being handled and going from just raw data all the way to immediate usable information that is relevant to our clients or anyone who's using a space. I want to make that as a standard. I think that is probably the high level goals that we're talking about. Obviously, there's a lot more to it from the commercial standpoint, but from a technical standpoint, that's probably the high level goals. The commercial standpoint, we're focusing a lot on B2B aspect for now, but eventually, I think the B2B to C aspect is going to come in. That's really a natural progression of what we're doing. And of course, I think a while back we were talking about the Atlas. I mean, this is sort of like a standing code name, but I think that is still going to come. There is going to be a B2C aspect of what we're doing, because at the end of the day, how can we make that more presentable to anyone on the net? A lot of people are trying it, putting it into nice graphs. That's still not actually very usable for people. When you have a nice graph, can you understand it? What do you want to do from that? We want to go a little bit beyond that. We want to provide data. If you're a man on the street and you do your searches, you do whatever simple checks or complicated checks that you want, we want that to make sense. And basically, you are supposed to get something that you can use. You can do your own analysis from there. I think that is the kind of commitment we want for businesses, and eventually for B2B2C, and then eventually down the road from there is B2C as well. So that is the kind of goals that we have for PARSIQ as for me as CEO. And to be honest, that we have never, I don't think that deviates anywhere away from our long-standing vision and mission. And I think that's something that we have always been staying true to our words.
Yeah, so really identifying that vision and then sticking to it. So another question I've got is about, it's about the roadmap. We'll get a lot of questions about roadmap. And this one is asking about the 2024 roadmap, which is a little bit in the future. I would say we probably don't have a full 2024 roadmap freshed out. We probably have ideas about what we'd like to do and what direction we're heading. But in terms of like a specific roadmap, would you maybe like to talk about what we could expect in the latter half of this year from the roadmap, Rong Kai, in terms of like token holders and what they should look forward to?
Yeah, definitely. So I think when we talk about roadmap, we actually tend to combine a few aspects to it. There's commercial aspect, there is the tech aspect, which is of course the biggest. Tokenomics, people tend to mix it up together, but technically there's a separate part. When we talk about the tech itself, it's very B2B. It is very directly to what other projects and other whether it's layer ones, layer twos, businesses, anyone, DAOs, as long as you're building on chain, or you might not be fully on chain, you could even be 50% or less on chain, but as long as you need on chain information, that's where we come in. So there's a lot of exciting things that we want to do in that direction. Obviously, down the road, we're going to have, in fact, that's probably going to happen pretty soon. We're going to have ZK integrations, optimistic integrations, supporting major chains, of course, and really be key ecosystem players for anyone trying to build on it. Because as it gets higher transactions, higher speeds, all of that comes with its own problems. I said it in ETHcc, and I like to use it today. When I was there, I was talking to other infrastructure projects, and I was telling them that the gap, what I said earlier, the information gap from data to information, usable information, that gap actually is constantly widening because technology evolves. It becomes more complex. You need higher speeds, you need higher data loads, low latency, high fidelity, all that kind of stuff, constantly getting more and more difficult. And everyone is in this arms race against that gap to try to constantly close it, because this is what we do. And I want to close that completely. And we have found a way to close it completely. And we want to constantly remain on top of that. So a lot of things that we're building, Daniil might have more parts to add as well, but I don't think he's going to go too far away, because anything in the future, he can't give you something that's very concrete. I think a lot of times when we're building new technologies and we're breaking down new frontiers, we can't actually predict how it's going to look like until it actually takes shape. Because we go in a certain direction and we break down barriers, and then we suddenly thought that, hey, actually there's another part that makes more sense, and we pivot to that direction, because that's how the shape takes place. It doesn't matter how the end product looks like, as long as it solves the problem, and that's what us on the frontiers of technology is doing. That's talking about that. Tokenomics, we have already shared about it, and it's going to be in phases, so I'll probably not go into that. It will cut into 2024, definitely. Some of the external utilities depends on our partners. Negotiations actually are ongoing, especially with the founders, Tom, the board, and actually on the other sides as well. And I think it will be joint announcements. It might be early, it might be late. Those external stuff doesn't depend on us, which means that it depends on the other side. And basically, when both sides are ready, then we can make further announcements based on that. I put it very, very flexibly. I would say that it could be 2023, it could be 2024. Again, it depends on what everyone is building. In this space right now, there is, because it's technically still the bear market, a lot of people think that the bull market probably has already started. But in terms of liquidity, in terms of interest, trade volumes, it's not yet there. I think a lot of people, if you have been in this space long enough, you sort of know this is how it is. When it gets darkest before dawn, so to speak. And the darker it seems, it's actually a sign that the bull market is going to come, because that's just how the cycles repeat itself. We are not immune to external pressures, external changes. We're not immune to resource constraints, and there's all of those stuff to sort out before we go really deeply into 2024. But at a very, very high level, that's what I can say for 2024.
Night is always darkest before the dawn, eh? Well, I've just got one very, very quick question for you before you go, Rong Kai, which was addressed to you, which is, do you have any concerns about competitors beating you to the market, overtaking PARSIQ? You're probably the best one to address that. Would you be able to answer that one for me quickly before you leave?
Yeah, definitely. So there's two parts to it. One, when you talk about competitors like catching up with us, are we talking about exposure? Or are we talking about technology? So as a business, very often people realize this. The best technology doesn't necessarily win. And in terms of technology, people are, of course, constantly trying to catch up with us. We say that we close the gap completely. They are also trying their best, and they're going to do it their way. And the catch a lot, of course, is about initial adoption getting into the ease of breaking down barriers, getting into a sort of early stage market standard. Right now, in this space right now, I think a lot of people sort of look at the graph as a standard, partly because they were early in the game. So technologically, are we better than them? I can make a case that perhaps we are, but at the end of the day, we are doing different things. Our tech solves slightly different problems, even though we're still looking at it from the data to information space. They haven't closed the gap completely. When you get output from the subgraphs, there's a lot of things that's relatively you still have to do some processing after that. It's fixed format. It might not be extremely stable. There's a lot of different things related to the graph, but it's the same for every single project. And I say it this way because I don't want to throw shade at anyone. I think everyone has something different to bring to the table. And I think in this space right now, partnerships are probably more important than saying that, hey, you're my competitor, I'm going to put you down. I think that's not helpful in this space because no project can say that they're the best in everything that they do. There are actually multiple parameters when projects come and look at data solutions, and they make the decision to whether to buy it or to be on board or to adopt the technology or the way they use to actually solve data in this space. I would say that right now, and I think a lot of people comment like, oh, PARSIQ, for example, on marketing, there's something that we can improve on. I would say that in this space right now, no amount of marketing can get you past a certain point, partly because the use cases of data in Web3 are still, for better or worse, in its infancy. We built something pretty powerful, and I think the graph built something powerful, and a lot of other competitors built something powerful as well. But when we go back to actually people using it, the use cases never really go too far away from balances, buying and selling, prices, and all that, because 90% of the volumes are all about just buying and selling and speculating on prices, and price go up and price go down, and people make profits or losses. It will go beyond that. Hopefully, at the next bull market, I'm seeing certain technologies maturing. But at the end of the day, I think the entire industry has to move together and grow the pie. And basically saying that as data users gets more and more complicated, everyone sort of become known for being specialized in certain way. And I think that's probably what I'm worried about, rather than saying that some competitors will eventually catch up with us. Because right now, the overall pie is not big enough. And right now, everyone is trying to solve it in their own way. So I do have to go off now because I do have a call to jump to. But thank you all so much for having me here today. And I'll leave you guys to continue. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot for joining us, Rong Kai. I appreciate your presence as always and all of your answers. Yeah, it's as you say, it's a very young space at the end of the day. So I don't think you can worry too much about whether you've got competitors that are going to arise and going to try and copy what you do. If what you're doing is successful, if you're on the right path, then people are going to copy it. You know, if no one's copying what you're doing, then you're probably not doing the right thing at the end of the day. So we've just got a couple more questions before we go, and then we'll try and wrap things up because I know we're over time already. We do have one good question, I think, that is probably good for Danny. And they say, I'd like to ask, can PARSIQ publish metrics on the cost saved by customers using Tsunami versus building infrastructure yourself? I know that's something we've kind of had that question a couple of times before. It's probably quite a complicated one because you need to know in a lot of ways the exact use case of what they're doing. But is there anything you'd like to add to that, Danny? Is that something we consider doing, sharing metrics on that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question. And it's a good question because this is very viable information when you talk, to potential clients and leads. And this, I don't think it can be calculated, straightforwardly, but we of course can estimate it approximately, and I think we could have a pretty good understanding of that, especially after working with some clients that before us would use just the nodes provider, and they will be hosting their own archive nodes and everything, and they would go about, they just tell us like, okay, we've been paying like $2,000 a month per archive node per chain, and with us they can lower this cost to like $500 a month. This is very approximate numbers, but this is a real conversation and real project that was using just infrastructure and building their own solution. So they had this double expense kind of, because they had to pay for infrastructure and for making indexer themselves, so wasting their dev resource. And I think it is possible to calculate, and it's generally a very good idea, and that's definitely comes up on various potential client calls, because I mean we are here to make life easier, and we have pretty flexible kind of pricings compared to many other different solutions out there.
Yeah, thanks for the answer, Danny. As you say, it's kind of it's something where it's easy to give an example of. We could give like a specific case where we've saved someone this much for their specific project, their specific use case, but to kind of generalize it and say you could save this much by switching to Parsec from, building it yourself. There's too many variables there to give actual concrete numbers, I think, most likely. So just a couple more questions before we finish. I've got a couple that are BD focused, I would say. So maybe you can touch on those, Emilijus. We've got a couple which are asking about what is the benefit of partnership with Protofire, and we've got one which is asking about the benefits of Parsec assigning Metis as a client. It's kind of complicated questions in a way, because you've got two aspects where you are obviously taking clients on board. People are asking how that will benefit holders of a token, but I think as you get more clients on board, that's also beneficial to us as a project in terms of status. What do you think, Emilijus? Do you find it easier to kind of approach new clients when you can give them case studies from previous clients? For example, if you can say Metis have signed with us, if you can give different examples like that, does it make it easier when you approach new clients as a BD rep?
Yeah, 100%. So I think the first part of the question was Protofire. So Protofire is a third-party dev shop. So essentially, if you're a founder, you have an idea, you know what you want to build, but you don't have the know-how, you don't have the team behind you. You can, in theory, make your idea come true by hiring a third-party dev shop who is going to build your project for you, will do the development work, and Protofire does exactly that. And obviously a dev shop like this has to have a lot of tools in their arsenal to be able to build what the clients need, be it a DApp, an NFT platform, and anything else that can be done in Web3. So by partnering with the likes of Protofire, we first of all get our tech in the hands of people who actually develop and build on the blockchain on a daily basis. And secondly, we can tap into the network of Protofire as well, and we can maintain the relationship with a project that has been built by Protofire. So I think there are several angles to it, and we're happy to partner with a dev company, ourselves being a developer face focused for now when it comes to our business proposition. And then the second question was, I think, about metas. Okay, so every chain we go on to next opens up the doors for multiple integrations and clients that can potentially leverage Parsec. And one interesting angle on this is that the biggest chains, they have the biggest amount of competitors. So naturally what that means is that the pie is going to be shared, the pie of demand is going to be shared by multiple other data providers naturally because of the supply and demand. So when we tap into a smaller ecosystem, in this case, for now, it allows us to capture the bigger part of the network when we talk about percentages. And also, naturally, it's easier to maintain a relationship with a closer, smaller circle of dApps and projects building there. So not only we get to access, all the potential projects on Metis, for example, but also it allows us to easily connect them much faster than we would, for example, with the likes of Ethereum-based and native projects, because they have so many different ways and options to choose their data provider. And yeah, that will be it. And we're obviously constantly looking for other chains to look at. There have been questions in the community chats about some other up and coming layer 1s and 2s. And just like Daniil said, we have to be really careful because it's a commitment, and we don't want to end up supporting a list of ghost chains. So we have to be careful. But at the same time, for the ones we do integrate, we are very, we do our research. We believe in those ecosystems. Metis is a great example. They have been great for us so far. And, we're very happy to be on their ecosystem.
Yeah, great points, really. It's with every client also comes a potential list of new contacts you can make, and with like layer 1s, layer 2s, that's doubly the case. That's a whole new ecosystem of projects you can gain access to. So I think you need to think of the benefits in that way. So that's most of the questions we've had, really. We've just got a last couple of community related questions that we'll go through, and then we'll close things up. So we've got one which is asking, how does Parsec build a thriving community that cares about and supports a project for a long time rather than just making profit? Any plans to connect more with the community, etc.? Well, we do quite a lot of community-related outreach. As Casey mentioned earlier, we're going to be doing a poker game with the community tomorrow. So if anyone wants to join that is at 6 p.m. UTC tomorrow. And if you just check out our Telegram or our Discord announcement channels, you'll find all the information you need to take part in that. But like I say, that is tomorrow, and you will need to sign up before then and get registered. So if you want to take part, do so quickly, or you might miss out. There's 5,000 PRQ on offer, so it's worth taking part. But we try to do things like that just to sort of keep the community engaged. And yeah, I think we've got a pretty good community overall. But the last question we've got is, do you have any plans to raise awareness for Parsec to new retail investors during the next upcycle? This came from Regular, so I'll try to give it an answer myself. It's basically yes. The problem is, when is the next upcycle? You're trying to predict the next bull run, essentially. So obviously we will ramp up our marketing efforts when it's expedient to do so. If we think we're in a bull run, if we think it's really worthwhile spending that capital and those resources on marketing and outreach, then we'll absolutely do so. But we've also got to consider during like lower periods, during downtime, bear markets, is it worth spending all of that capital and all of that essential resources on just like community outreach that doesn't help with building the project? And we will still try to do things as you see us do. If you follow our announcement channel, it's always busy, but you've got to kind of time things right and do things in line with the market cycles, right? So the short answer is yes, we absolutely will do more to draw new investors in during the next up cycles. So when the bull run's here, just look out, keep your eyes open. And that's the last question we've got for the community. So Casey, do you want to close things out?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dave. Maybe just add a bit to the community question there. Like, during the next phase of our community growth, we're going to be working a lot more with developers. So, for instance, we have a Metis developer workshop coming up on August 9th for their ecosystem. But as our products, and especially with the release of the SDK comes to fruition, that will be sort of another relationship we're going to foster, and then to bring new token holders in. Like that's one of the main goals, obviously, of the tokenomics. But just keep announcing new partnerships. We're working on things all the times there, and as I mentioned or sort of alluded to in our Telegram messaging this week, we would like to have had a couple announcements this week. We're going to see what we can do, but if not, they'll be coming just around the corner. So yeah, look forward to that. And in general, just thanks so much everyone for joining today. There were some community questions we didn't get to, but we'll curate this list and get them answered inside of the community itself. And just a big thank you to Rong Kai and Daniil, Emilijus, Dave, and Hao Dong for all joining in. I think we didn't get to the community questions at the end, but I think for an update on what's going on at PARSIQ, it was really in depth. So just a big thank you to everyone that tuned in, and a big thank you to all the speakers today. So yeah, guys, if you just want to say bye, we can wrap it up.
Yeah, and mouse pads all around for the best questions. We'll be giving some of those out, so we'll be in contact if you're a winner. Thanks very much, guys.
Yep, thanks for having us. It was a great AMA. And thanks everyone for joining, for tuning in, and yeah, looking forward to future developments of PARSIQ.
Yeah, and if anybody is interested in any BD type of topics, we can always chat on the trading chat. Happy to share whatever I can. So yeah, feel free to reach out or ping me on our community channels. All the best, guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone again, and we'll look forward to the next one. Take care, and everyone have a great day. Bye now.
Let's talk PARSIQ.